Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Martin Grady Jr., and today I'm going to be doing a Future of the Finance Industry screencast for my HOD 2400 class in the fall 2018 semester. Now, going into this assignment, my mock interview was scheduled to be for a consulting role, supposedly. That's what I was hoping for. However, I realized that the point of college is also to expand your horizons, and while I know a lot about the consulting industry, the finance industry is something that's intrigued me for some time, but I've never taken much time to look into. So thus I decided to do my screencast on the future of the finance industry. I began my research by looking at IBIS World for some industry market research, and then on first research for a few company overviews out of curiosity. And then I moved on and I compiled these into key insights on the following page along with my own research. I also looked at the BLS Occupational Outlook Handbook. Now, when I found what the finance industry's projected growth was to be through the year 2022, it looked pretty strong, but I was curious why tax examiners and collectors and revenue agents were going to be decreasing in terms of their employment by 4%. It just seemed illogical given how complicated tax laws is, how necessary it would need to be that there are tax examiners and revenue agents to collect them. Thus, that was what sparked me to compile key insights on the future of the finance industry. One of my main points of focus was looking at, starting off, what tax professionals were going through that caused them to have this deployment decrease. And I found that a big part of it was due to automation. But in terms of the structure of how I organized this Excel sheet when I made it, on Google Slides actually, I wanted to first look at to address the key skills, competencies, and qualities that finance professionals need. So I found that there's actually a shortage of skills in certain professions. For example, in asset management, there are certain tasks that can be handled by like hedge funds, investment banks, and insurance companies. Similarly, with AI, there's predictive analytics for financial markets. You can make revenue out of previous non-wealth generators, which puts the current wealth generators at risk in terms of finance professionals who engage in those tasks. For asset management, I conducted an interview as part of a separate project with the CFO last year, and he found that 4% of CFOs surveyed by Deloitte confirmed what this CFO told me, which was that they've implemented blockchain into their corporations. So it's important that individuals who are working in finance are constantly redefining their skill set and upping their skills and taking advantage of company programs to do so. For example, blockchain is an up-and-coming technology. For professionals who don't know how to utilize this causes a problem. I also looked at geographical mobility. So with the future of our country demographically changing, we're going from a majority white, you could say, country to a majority minority country, meaning there are more minority groups combined than there are white people in the country, and that could happen as soon as the 2030s. So as a result, I found that it's a very important perspective for there to be not just more outsourcing, but within the country where people are working, for there to be more languages told, like people have different multilingual capabilities. Especially because in the Bay Area, there's 45% of U.S. venture capital investments, but there's also an incredible diversity of people who live there. That's one of the strengths of the finance industry, is the diversity of its people. So it's important that that trend continues in the future. In terms of their employment outlook, one trend I found was contingent work. So right now, a lot of work is defined as part-time or full-time. But in countries such as Peru, where half of my family is from, there's a lot of people who are on what you would call contingent work, and that doesn't really fall into either one. I guess the closest thing we have today is the gig economy with things like Uber and TaskRabbit. So it's important that contingent experts help manage different types of assets within the finance industry and asset management, for example. And unfortunately, this also is going to make retention of consumers rather, more difficult in the financial markets segment of finance. I should point out that I divided finance into 4 parts earlier: investments, financial markets, asset management, and strategic planning and budgeting, also called corporate finance.